What is speed? In physics, it is distance over time. On YouTube, it's a guy who hates sunshine rainbow white pony. And in coffee, it is how quick I rush to the toilet after my morning sip. So how about in grinders? Most of them have a set speed of burr spinning, labeled as rotation per minute, RPM. But recent years, there is a surge of variable speed grinders on the market, which means you can adjust how quick the burrs spin on the go. So, to answer the question of, is this a great feature or a gimmick? Today we are looking at one of the budget-friendly options among all variable speed grinders, the DF64V Gen 2. So before I start yapping more, I have to thank this video sponsor.
Absolutely nobody!
Yep, I purchased this grinder with my hard-earned money. No sponsors whatsoever are involved for now. And I want this new channel to be a straightforward, no BS, unbiased view from a home coffee enthusiast.
Are you sure about that?
So a month ago I was shopping for a new grinder, upgrading from a Smart Grinder Pro, which I will yap about what's wrong in another video. And I've been looking at big round pairs, I mean flat burrs of course, to see what better grind uniformity and consistency brings to the coffee table. So, with my broke ass budget of around £500, ability to do both espresso and pour overs, my options were DF54, DF64 Gen 2, Timoro 64S, and then I came across this. Slim, sexy, and most importantly, comes with a V. And so I bit the bullet and purchased it here, because it's the cheapest and I found a discount, thanks Tom. And when it arrived, my first impression was solid metal housing, premium matte finish, small and slim, just like how I like my women, with a reasonable heft at 3.9 kilos. Also came with a few accessories, a cheaply made RDT bottle, a pretty decent brush, and an Allen key to adjust the 0 point. So I started off the bad boy by opening him up, looked at his inner, checking the alignment, which was pretty good to begin with at about 85%. But because I am a Virgo with OCD, I shimmed it 3 times with to get to where I want, which was surprisingly quick process because of how easy it is to access the burrs. And then I seasoned the burrs with a kilo of pure rubbish beans off Amazon and created a gas chamber in my apartment. So with it aligned, seasoned, and zeroed, here are all my thoughts after 3 weeks of use, starting with the good. Firstly, it whispers without beans in. So much so that I would lose sleep thinking I might have left it on. Without an auto-off feature, I've seen some hacks on Reddit to put a smart plug, which is definitely a good idea before my stupid ass sets property on fire.
10 people died in the Bronx last night due to a fire that killed 10 people in the Bronx last night during a fire.
Fire officials say all 10 people died due to the fire, which was too hot for their bodies.
It also grinds quickly. For example, an 18-gram dose on espresso setting takes about 10 seconds. On filter, however, it was 12 seconds. With a couple of squirting actions, grounds come out nice and fluffy, 0 to 0.1 gram of retention with a few puffs on the bellow. Personally, I have no issues with the aesthetics of the bellow, but if that makes your eyes sore, sucks to be you. Also sucks to be you if you prefer to grind directly into a portafilter. You do you, but if you haven't watched this already, you should definitely do. The main difference the Gen 2 brings is a plasma generator. From what I see in videos of the Gen 1 on how staticky it gets, I must say I'm not experiencing that. And the removable chute is a nice to have when it comes to cleaning. The RPM range is now 800 to 1800, which the Gen 1 could go down further to 600, but had many stalling issues. Personally, with a hot start, I've never stalled it with light roasted beans, even on the minimum RPM, so happy days. A big W is the upgradability. The ease of changing to other 64mm options, for example SSPs, helps with future upgraditis. You will be surprised by how much taste is influenced by the burr set. With the same RPM and burr, Even Prometheus could barely tell the difference when compared to a $1,600 Lagom P64. So, what do I taste? Straight up from my previous grinder, it was immediate that I can taste more brightness, pleasant acidity, and nuanced flavors in lighter roasts, both in espressos, V60s. I will talk more about conical versus flats in another comparison video.
Okay.
How about the big V? The general consensus is that lower RPM equals better uniformity, and higher RPM equals more fines, which explains my personal experience. With my preferred espressos being 12 to 1400 RPM for more body and complexity, and in filter, I always stick to the minimum 800 RPM to prioritize clarity. Personally, I find it a great tool to fine-tune my espressos. After the bean is dialed in, I would play around to maximize the flavor profile I want in the cup. Basically, if you are a coffee nerd like me, it is nice to have an extra variable to play with because we have no friends. Lastly, the DLC burr is certainly capable for both brewing methods. Personally, I think it favors espresso and milk drinks more, with the tendency to produce more fines for filters. So now, what could be better? So when it grinds, it can be loud at about 80 decibels. With a higher pitch that some might be annoyed. I would love to see an on-off button, or at least an auto-off feature, so I don't burn my house down.
Too hot for their bodies.
It is a horizontal mounted burr, which means all beans mush together more, which means more regrinding tendency, which means less consistency and more fines. To work around that, you can always slow feed manually if you have too much sanity in the morning, or install a slow feeding disc, which per online reports can lead to another issue. There is a debate that vertical mounted burrs are better, with pre-breakers, as the name suggests, pre-breaks beans into smaller bits, then an auger to feed the beans to the burrs at a more consistent rate. Examples would be Time More Sculptors, DF83V, and the new CF64V, but man is it hella ugly. Lastly, with all DF grinders as white label products, it can be like Russian roulette, I mean Chinese roulette. So make sure you purchase through a trusted seller with reputable customer support, in case something goes haywire. So, with all that yapping, should you get this grinder? Ask yourself firstly, are you in the market for a new grinder? If the answer is no, don't bloody get infected by upgradeitis or FOMO. If yes, then we can talk about how geared is your wallet. This is a great option, especially for budget around 400 to 800 Great British pounds. So, if you are eating grass for dinner, you might want to look at some budget options like the DF54. If you are rich as hell, good for you. But why are you still watching this? Just go get something like this and this. Thirdly, do you want the V? As a Sigma male, I definitely do. I mean, it is particularly useful if you switch between brewing methods. Even for dedicated espresso or filter brewing, it is nice to have another variable in control. Overall, it is not a must-have, but I can see more new grinders coming out with this feature. And next, do you like the aesthetics and the workflow? They always say, beauty lies in the eye of the beholder. Do you have times when walking on the street and see someone with their partner and be like,
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
am I the only one? Am I? So, ask yourself if you are happy to see it every morning for years to come, love the workflow, and can tolerate its flaws. Finally, you can now decide which burr set you should get with it. Stock burrs come with Diamond Light Coating or DLC, which is more suited for espresso and milk drinks. Still capable for filters, but not the best. Hybrid users should be happy with this to begin with, an option to upgrade in the future. If you brew only espresso or filter, you should go with one of those dedicated burrs, like the SSB, High Unicornity, Rainbow Speed, V69, HD, LCD, IDK asked the Burman. So, to wrap up, get this only if you need a new grinder, 4 to 800 pounds range, likes to fiddle with the V, likes the look and workflow, and wants a solid 64mm option. And now, I would love to hear your banters or questions, perhaps about the grinder or about the V, in the comments down below. Give a like and sub for the next cup and the next crack up.